Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of SHENZHEN I. I just wanted to, before we get started, show you guys that I decided to search for PGA in the manual, and look, it's documented after all! In Chinese. There's a diagram and everything, man. So, I don't know, if I could read Chinese, this would help. This does tell me something useful. Probably this means contents or something. There's 3 of something, 3 of something, 6 of something, and 1 of something. As a bridge player, by the way, I can tell very quickly that this adds up to 13. The only thing good bridge players are good at doing is finding groups of numbers that add up to 13. So I noticed 3361 right away. Yeah, not going to be able to piece together what any of this means, although there's a lot of duplication, right? Look at this. These are all the same, and this is the same. So, like, I assume this is telling me, like, this is an OR gate. This is an AND gate or something, right? Because, like, this has got to be some kind of, like, weirdo... It's a PGA, like a field programmable gate array, right? And, oh my god, there's a latch, like an S and an R. This is like an SR latch of some kind, I guess? We've got these... Who knows? I mean, they're drawn like an AND. And this is drawn like an OR. Right, XOR is the one with the thing in the back, like this. Whereas this isn't, just an OR. But then this is like labeled as S and R, which strongly makes me believe that it's a latch, because that's like what you would label S and R. And it seems like it feeds back into this gate array somehow, so you have 4 rows of somehow related to something inputs. Ah, I see. So this wire is high if the input is true, and this wire is high if the input is false. This circle here must be the thing inverting it, right? So we get like, this is on if this is true, and this is on if this is false. And then we have like, so we can read all 3 of the inputs, and we can also read this old state that we were allowed to set as a latch. The current value of data goes here. Current value of S also goes here somehow. So I guess what you can do is, interesting. Anyway, then we have these 3 outputs here that we can control as a state of what, as a function of what was up here, I guess. So let's look a little closer at one of these in action. Wow, okay, let's read this first. Cryptocurrency deposit terminal. We've partnered with a major financial services company to create a cryptocurrency deposit terminal for people concerned about turbulence in the financial system. It should do especially well in regions where people are worried their government-issued currencies may be devalued soon, like, say, regions being invaded by horrible robot armies that we've helped them build? Could be. The terminal reads an account number from a cheap magnetic stripe card, accepts a cash deposit, and sends the information to the bank over the internet. Because nearly all of the money is flowing in a single direction, we just need to have it handle deposits. Okay. Alright, so let's look at this. We're going to have to, like, figure this out at some point. The only control that we... Oh, by the way, this thing's small as heck. These are so tiny. The only control that we seem to get is, like, we can toggle these guys somehow. My guess is that this is a wire and this is not a wire, so you can sort of, but, like, what I don't get, you can control, like, what connects up to where by toggling those states, basically, somehow. I'm not sure, like, I've used FPGAs very little, like, maybe for a week, 10 years ago in a class. It was about my experience with FPGAs. So I don't know exactly, like, how you do things, or how close this is to a real one. Like, I mean, this is not close to how a real microcontroller would be written. So I don't know how close this is to a real FPGA anyway. Wait, this one's always on? I can't turn that one off. Ah, you can flip it. Okay. So you can have it either send... Okay, I was wondering about that. It makes no sense to have it be both. That's true. So you can either send the current data value, or you can send the same as this S. Fine. So, all right, let's not figure this out just now. We have 2 pages again. Card reader is a non-blocking XBus input connected to a magnetic card reader. Cache 20, 50, and 100 are inputs connected to a mechanism. Network is an XBus output connected to a network interface. Okay, so that's all of the I/O. The user initializes the transaction by inserting their account card, which is an 8-digit data packet from the card reader. Okay, so we're going to want some RAM for this. The user then inserts money as indicated by the cache signals. The user finalizes the transaction by ejecting their account card, indicated by a value of -1 from the card reader. When the transaction is finished, the 8-digit account number and the total amount of the deposit should be transmitted over the network. Okay. So this seems straightforward enough. I don't see an FPGA being very helpful to us here. So it's fine, we can put off figuring that out, I guess. Alright. So, alright. Thing one to do is obviously... this, right? There. We wired that up. Now we can read an XBus anytime we want. What inputs are being given to us over this thing. This is XBus, right? Yes, because we have to transmit 9 bytes to it at a time. So we get a bunch of nothings, and then we get an input, and then we wait for a while, and the user inserts cache at sort of irregular timings. It actually looks like they're quite regular, but I don't think there's any reason for us to count on that. How do we structure this? Like, okay, yes, clearly we want one of these guys, no questions there. But what else? These guys have 2 outputs, I guess? Yeah, and they're simple I/O, not XBus. So they can only read like 100, which is okay, fine, I guess. So the idea is going to be, when we detect that a card has been inserted, we're going to copy all of its stuff over to here. And then we'll somehow enter a mode where we're accepting currency. Well, in fairness, we can just always be in that mode, because we're not going to get users who... In real life, we would want to be a little bit careful about this. But in the game, I don't think we're ever going to have a user who gives us money before inserting their card. So we can just, like, if we ever get money in, add it to the bank, and that's that. So it seems like there's going to be a single chip who is responsible for reading this stuff and keeping it in the accumulator somewhere. And then occasionally he will be sent a signal saying, hey, stop reading and tell me the value. And we'll send back the value and reset to 0. Or maybe we won't send it back, we'll probably send it like here. Which means we want one of these, probably, right? It's gonna be wired up like so. Wrong button. I guess I did want the wires there as it happens, but wire him up like that. I don't know, maybe we could do a better job of wiring. So how exactly do we write output? We write the account number first. Yeah, we write the account number first, and then we write the total value. So, interesting though. It's it's a little hard to signal this guy so easily, isn't it? Because we can't sleep waiting for an XBus input, because we might need to read this instead, right? And it's not like we have access to non-blocking XBus inputs. Maybe, in fact... I was thinking just for a moment that I could connect him up to this input and just have him say, oh, we got a -999, or rather a -1. But the problem is there's going to be another chip who needs to know this too, right? The one who read the account number. Actually, this one's probably the small one as well. Well, maybe. I don't know how much work it's going to be to read the account number. Anyway, the point is there are going to be two different chips that need to know that that's happened, and so we can't just have them both read this directly. One of them needs to read it and forward to the other. So I guess, all right, here's a thing we could do to make a little progress is, can we figure out a way to write this guy's code in 9 lines or less? Oh, right. We haven't figured out yet how he even gets the input about turning off. It can't come to him over XBus. There's just no way to do that. So it has to come to him over simple I/O, which means we need a different chip. But more than that, it means, like, how do we time things? Because you can't really rely on timing as well. Like, XBus, you don't need timing, you just, like, wait for the input to get there, and it all sort of syncs up naturally. Whereas with simple I/O, you need the guy sending the data to get there before the guy reading the data in the same time unit, right? And I'm not sure exactly how well we're going to do that. Maybe we can put some no-ops in this guy's thing? I hope not. Actually, we can probably make it happen in time. We can have this guy read all this stuff first, which will take him several instructions. And then he'll check to see if he should transmit the total. In fact, I don't think this guy can really manage to be such a small chip. I think we're going to need the large one just to fit like, all the code in. Oh, gross. And because we send the... I'm actually not so sure anymore about syncing, because... when we receive... Oh, I think we ought to be okay. I was imagining that, like, the problem is we're going to receive a -1 in this, like, let's put this guy here just so I can have a physical object to point at. We'll receive a -1, and then we'll tell this guy, hey, it's time for you to output the value. And if he just outputs it straight to here, he'll get there too fast. He'll write it before we're done writing all of these, right? So that's sort of a timing problem. Oh, actually, we were doing this actually over simple I/O in this scenario. So a bit like this. And if we did that, indeed, it would arrive too soon. But what we can do is instead send it back to this guy, or maybe to another controller somewhere. Probably, in fact, another controller somewhere. The one who's responsible for reading this thing, and it'll just block until this guy's done with all of his output and the account number, and that'll be okay. So the other thing is, like, reading and writing the account number. How much code does that take? Obviously, we could just write copy 8 times, but that's a lot of times. I think we can do better by making it a loop. Doesn't seem like the loop should take more than 8 instructions, I hope. Ugh. There's a lot to do here. I feel like there's going to need to be one more chip, which is the one that receives a signal from these guys, reads the account number, and writes everything. It just seems like there's not enough space inside of this guy to handle orchestrating everything and also outputting the account number. Maybe we can squeeze in inputting the account number, but outputting it is just going to be too much, I think. So fortunately, that storage is externalized to here, so we'll be okay, right? All right, well, let's write this guy up first. He should be reasonably easy. We test equal x0 of 1, and if so, I believe that's a 20. Ah, I just realized. So I've always, like, the manual has it facing like this, right? And it says this is the ones, tens, and hundreds digit. And then when I mirrored it, it always seemed like it was coming out backwards. And I just realized that's because this isn't mirror, it's rotate. So we're actually flipping it, like spinning it. I can't show you, but like turning it like this, which means this one that's on the bottom right has moved to the top left, right? So this is the ones digit, tens, hundreds. Now I can make sense of it, as opposed to just treating it as being dumb for no reason. Now I kind of get why. So if it's equal to 1, then that's a 20, right? So add 20, test equal x0 of 10. If so, add 50, test equal x0 of 100. If so, add 100. Then we test equal p0 of 100. If so, we are 1 instruction short. Okay. Can we do better? Well, let me write it out so you guys see which 1 instruction I mean. So p0, if it's 100, we're going to move ACK over x1 and move 0 into ACK, but there's no sleep in here, and we need a sleep, right? so we need one more byte to squeeze in a sleep 1 somehow. Or, like, yeah. We need one more byte, either by enlarging the chip, or by figuring out a way to wipe just one of these instructions out. It always seems like test compares can help somehow. Like, if we could find a way to do just 2 tests instead of 3, then we'd be in good shape. So I'm thinking about, like, doing a test compare on 50 is a great way to add either, like, 10 or 100. Is that what those numbers are? 20 or 100. Sorry. Not doing a test compare on 50. Doing a test compare on 10 will get us a value, like, I think we can do it. Let's try. So, let's remove all this stuff. Leave this thing at the bottom. And also put in a sleep 1 here. And that means we've got 5 instructions to work with, right? So what I want to do is start with a test compare on x0 of 50. Now, if it was greater than 50, easy. We can add 100, no problem. Now, what do we do if it's less than 50? What I would like... Not 50, god damn it. 10. What I would like to do is just add 20, assuming that we'll somehow handle unadding that 20 if we determine that the number was 0 rather than 10 or 1 or whatever. But I actually don't see how we can do that. Like, it's a thing that sounds cool, but I'm not sure how you do it. I really have not internalized how to use test compare at all. What if we did something weird like start by adding 50, then do a test compare against 10. If it's greater, add another 50. If it's less, subtract 30. And then test for 0 again, and then test for 0, and if it's equal to 0, subtract another 20. That gets us down to 2 compares, but it gets us up to 4 moves, so it's neutral, right? It doesn't actually help. Could we do it with like a test compare somehow? Or not a test compare. Like what if we did a test greater and say like, is it greater than 0? And then if so, we add some money. And then we test whether it's greater than 9, and if so, we add some money. Yeah, it doesn't help though. Because we'll still have to test whether it's greater than like 99 and then add some more money. And that's still 3 tests and 3 additions. Well, in the interest of progress, I think I'm going to just use a bigger chip here. I'm sure we can do this better. Like, but there's some way to combine the conditionals, and I'm just not sure what it is. So can I hit undo a few times and get back all my code, please? Thank you. Thank goodness for modern computers, not these horrible chips. God dang it. Give me this one, please. Where's his P input? It's like there. But we'll wire everything up to X1 and sleep for 1. Okay, so not great. And where did we move? We moved our ACK to X1, but it needs to actually be X2. We'll wire that up later. So, fine. What about this guy? He doesn't need any particular internal storage, right? All he really needs is ACK to be a loop counter. And, sorry, I don't know. That was just me making a little nervous noise with my mouth, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. It's something that like is reasonable to do in conversation with yourself when there's no one else there, or people can see that you're just doing it for no reason. But I imagine it must have been a surprise to hear. There you go, just things I do by myself. So we want a loop counter in ACK, and we need a place to store this XBus input so we can do several checks against it. So that has to go into DAT, probably, right? So here's the idea. We start by moving X1. Actually, I bet we want to scoot everything down a bit. Yeah, we don't have enough. Well, we might be fine. Move X1 into DAT, please. Test whether it's minus 99. If so, jump to done. We'll say done is just sleep 1 here. Otherwise, we got an actual input, so we need to do something. Test equal. Oh, what's it? ACK. Test equal, not ACK. We put it in DAT, right? DAT of minus 1. If so, move. We don't have quite enough inputs, do we? We have to use all of this guy's inputs, except this P1, which we don't really need. So I kind of do need to shift everything around just a bit. Basically move this guy down so there's room for there we go, and move that. I need there to be room for this fellow to connect to both of these ports and also to the third chip that's going to be responsible for output. But we'll throw that out. We won't put this in for now, so I don't know. Yeah, whatever. So if we got a minus 1, then we need to move 100 onto P0. We're gonna need to reset that at some point, aren't we? Unlike XBus, values on P0 live a long time. We'll just do that in done. It'll be fine, probably. We'll do it after done here. move move 0 to P0. Okay. That's something that we don't need to live in between time units, basically. So we move 100 to P0, telling the change counter to reset and send the output. We also move 100 to X. X0, which is the chip that everything else is talking to, right? So let's optimistically wire it up like this. Oh no, it doesn't have enough ports this way. Interesting. Huh. Oh, here's here's a funny idea. What if this guy didn't actually communicate with this chip at all, but just wrote onto the end of the RAM? And then we could just copy 9 bytes of RAM instead of 8. That should be okay, right? And that saves us a chip on, or a pin on this guy. So we will just connect it like that. Seems pretty good. Okay. But we're already like running real low on how to copy stuff into here, right? So what do we do? We've now handled everything except reading the user's credit card, I think. Otherwise, we move 0 to the address register, which is X3, and move DAT onto the data register, which is X2. And now we need to start a loop. Oh no, we need to also move, let's say, 7 into ACK. We test equal ACK. Let's say loop. Test equal test greater than ACK 0. If so, move X1 to X2, and then jump to loop. I think we squeezed it all in there. So we test whether what we got was a -1. If so, the user has removed their card. We send 100 to this guy, telling him to output his money, and 100 to this guy, telling him to start copying bytes out. Oh no! Huh. We... Huh. We need to make sure this guy gets his write in before this guy starts reading, because he's going to have to reset the address register in order to read. Oh, boy. Well, let's wire this up, just to be clear that that's what's happening. Maybe we can reuse these two wires. This wire for both communications, I mean. I think so. This guy can wait until he receives 2 inputs and just throw both of them away and then start reading. Or wait. Does he actually need an input from this guy? At all? I'm sending 100 to both of them. But I don't need to send an input to this guy at all. I can actually remove this wire completely. Which simplifies this, I think. This guy is just gonna, oh, and it means also we can do that. Save us a byte. Great. That'll help when I realize I forgot something. But this guy is gonna write both to here and also to here. So he's, do I need to do both of those things? Probably. So I'm going to write to here saying add to the value that needs to be output. And then I'll write to this guy saying, okay, go ahead and start doing the copy. Seems all right. So what's the idea here? We're moving ACK to X3, in fact. And moving 0 to ACK, and also moving 9 over X2, telling this guy, so it doesn't have to be 9, we could send anything, but 9 is what we're going to want to reset the accumulator to, so, and we need to read the value, so we might as well just move from the X bus input into our accumulator, right? Seems fine. So what's this guy's deal? He's just going to sleep X on X3, move X3 into ACK, loop, copying this, oops, not yet, move 0 into X0, and then start looping, and his loop is just test greater than ACK 0. If so, then we actually we can save a little space here. Loop. I'll just move X1 to X2, and then test greater than ACK. Let's sub 1. Now let's test greater than ACK 0, and if so, jump to loop, and that's it. Okay, how does this look to you guys? We haven't run any tests at all. This is more code than I feel super comfortable writing without doing any tests, but actually, we don't need this bridge either. We could run through, like, here. Yeah, let's get rid of it. Bridgeless solutions are nice, right? Even if it makes it hard to tell where the wires are coming from. Alright, well, let's see how that goes. Step, nothing happens. No, he's doing his testing, but doesn't add anything back. And now we're all sleeping. We move a 0 to P0 just in case. We move X1 to DAT. Was it minus 99? It wasn't. So was it minus 1? No. Therefore, we need to move 0 to X3. Resetting where this goes. Here you go. Move DAT, which is our first thing, to X2. Move 7 to ACK, which is how many more things we want to write. We could actually save a little bit of power in this one, just like in the other. Maybe not, actually. It might be, whatever, it doesn't matter. We test greater than ACK 0. Right, we needed to kind of fall through here because we needed to be able to toggle these instructions in whatever. We need these instructions to run somewhat often. So if so, yes it was. Then we just copy the 0 that we got, which is our second byte, over there. And we go back. And we're copying all the stuff. And their account number is 007439. 007439. 5 is now... Oh, that's what we forgot. I'm glad we had a byte to save, huh? Better subtract 1. Okay, good. Told you I would forget something. Alright, step through all this stuff. ACK is counting down, thank goodness. ACK is 1, there's still inputs coming. And we now go to sleep. Great, so we got their entire... Wait, oh interesting. They have different pointers, these two guys. Huh. I didn't realize that. Let me go read the specs for this again. Address. This is the read-write or no? Yes, this is the one we're working with here. 2 independent memory pointers. I didn't realize. Can we do anything with that? Well, we could go back to the old model where this guy sends the input to him telling him to go. But we don't have enough instructions here. So this guy is gonna write using this pointer. That's important. That it comes in over this data line and not that one. And actually, we could save another byte here if we needed to. Yes. By wiring this XBus input all the way around here onto this address line to reset it. We could move an instruction from here to here with some heroic wiring. But we don't need to, so I'm not going to. Meanwhile, this guy, we actually could do a tiny bit better in terms of maybe, like, I don't know, maybe it's not actually any better. But we can take this move and, like, put it here. So that it only happens at the end. But it's completely pointless and silly. Because it'll happen anyway. It was like, maybe we could save 1 power. Not 1 power per cycle or per transaction, but like per run of the tests by not bothering to reset this register to 0 at the beginning. But we have to reset it to 0 at the end anyway, so it's just silly. Okay, so we fixed something. I forget what it was. Subtracting, yes. So we got all this into the RAM, and now we're getting some money in, and now this guy reads. Is x1 equal to 1? No, it should be 10, right? Yes. So we add 50, and we sleep. So all this is happening fine. That, I believe, right? We got 270, I assume? Yes, that part's pretty easy. If we had written it in a more clever way, it would have been tricky, but it's not, so. All right, now, let's see what happens when the user takes out their card. This is the exciting part. Move it to dat. Is it -99? No. Is it -1? Yes. Move 100 to P0. Wait, did this guy already do all his work? Uh-oh. I thought we were going to beat him. I thought we were going to outrace him. That's crazy. How are you so fast? Alright, let's set our breakpoint to here, I guess. So he's already here doing this test. That's so fast! Huh. Well? How much faster would we need to get there? We need to be there by, like, now. That's rough. Can we do better somehow? So the obvious thing is to rearrange how we handle these cases, right? Take this test and put it after this test. The problem is, I think, that we can't easily do that because we're sort of relying on these minus conditional actions to mean that the input wasn't -1. If we rearrange those tests, they'll mean the input wasn't -999, which is quite different, right? Maybe... So another thing we could do is try to move this instruction somewhere a little bit less problematic. But then I worry that in other cases he's gonna be in a weird mood. I don't know. Let's I don't think that just moving this is enough either. But where else would we put it? Put it in the start reading their account number, I guess, would work. Hello? Why can I not paste? Backspace. Move 0 to P0, like, regardless in this state. So I don't think this fixes anything. But it does mean we're one instruction closer to finishing up, I guess. Oh man, it's a race! Who wins? Nope, this guy read it before we could write it. Ah! Alright. Do we need to do more micro-optimization on this? Or is there, like, some better approach that I'm missing than having them communicate over simple I/O? Well, okay. I mean, so we can fix it now by putting a knob in, right? Yeah, and I think I will. I don't love it, but I'm thinking, like, can I make this be a minus NOP so it executes less often? Because... no. Wait. Yeah. Because we only need to NOP in the case when we didn't actually do any of this math, right? And if we didn't do any of this math, we specifically didn't do this add 100. So I guess we can NOP here. To indicate that we're waiting for P0. So it's not exactly the cleanest solution I've ever seen. But we got P0 third time. So now we say, yes, we must move ACK to X3. That's the amount of money we need, 270. And it gets put at the end of the stuff we're writing. Move 0 to ACK and 9 to X2. It would be better to do those in the other order, I guess, in theory, but not in anything we're actually being measured for. Oh, there's a bridge sitting there. How nice. So now we send a 9 to X2. This guy moves that 9 into ACK because he needs to write 9 things. Resets, oops, not X0, I got those backwards. X1, X0, again. He resets the read pointer to 0, copies, subtracts 1, tests whether you should keep going, and does. Great, and that's all going, and we're going to get the amount of money as well. And then we go back to sleep, and everything starts over. Okay. Yeah, I mean, not the cleanest thing I've ever done for sure, but it worked out. I don't know how we're going to score. We could take out that bridge, I guess. Seems like a pretty standard solution. More people did better than did worse, I suppose. Oh, lines of code. So we're finally being measured on lines of code. I'm not sure why we weren't before. Huh. Weird. Well, that seems like an okay solution. We'll pause for a moment to admire it. Throw out the bridge to nowhere. Not bad. Finally got to use one of these read-write RAMs. That was cool. And learned a little bit more about the independent read pointers. Like, it said that in the manual, but I just never really paid attention. Or forgot, I guess. Because I do remember reading it. Yeah. Like I said, there's some ways I feel like we could optimize this a bit more. On the other hand, now that we have a little bit more stuff to do, we couldn't really squeeze it down to just to just 9 lines of code anyway, because we're using too many XBus inputs. Right, we don't have enough pins to use any other kind of chip. So, okay, I'm reasonably happy with that. Yeah, okay, and so Carl is always... great, I think we can catch the wave with this one. Cryptocurrencies are surging in popularity again thanks to the recent market fluctuations. It seems even people who used to work primarily with cash are giving up and looking for an easy way to convert their money to digital these days. I wish I had my own currency. Must be nice to use a medium of exchange you can manipulate anytime you like. No politics, please. Yeah. She's the one who's like... she's like a sucker to the military-industrial complex. Or maybe she actually knows, right? Maybe she's just, like, manipulating us. Who knows? Over 55% of homes are infected. Is yours infected? Oh, my home could be infected with viruses or malware. Alright, well, sure. Feel free to read this one if you want. An ad for Fortress. But other than that, we are done with this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.